right. Hey there. So there's a process that is beautiful and moderately complicated called the meta model. It's particularly fascinating because it helps you decode other people's language. And specifically, let's see if I can share the screen here. Good times. Okay, so it helps us specifically figure out when things are happening in the world. Our brains have all these filters, right? And one of the processes that happens before it floods through our filters is that we delete, we distort, and we generalize the information coming in. And you can hear that in the language that we use. And the meta model is a decoding model that is based off of Virginia Satir's work. She was a very successful family therapist back in the 70s. And a lot of NLP is based off of her patterns of utilizing conversation and questions to help people get out of these over generalizations or the things that they're deleting and distorting and get really, really specific. So people are being very global in their thinking and in their communication, and she's getting them very specific. Now, the meta model, I'm going to stop share and share a different thing. So is the meta model. Now, there are aspects of what's on this page that are related to, it's in your model. I'm scrolling up. Boom. Linguistic presuppositions. So existence, possibility, necessity, cause and effect, complex equivalence, awareness, time, adverbs, adjectives, exclusive, ors, and ordinals, all of those that you read about that exist in people's language when you do the linguistic presuppositions assignment. Those are also here in the meta model. For instance, this page is split up in here's what happens and here's what you'll hear when someone has distorted the information in their internal representation. Here's what you're going to hear if people are generalizing. Here's what you may hear when people are deleting. Now, each of these are set up. And so if somebody's doing some mind reading, and that's how they're distorting information, they would say something like, they claim to know someone's internal state, like, you don't like me. And then the response that you would give, when you would recognize that that's what they're doing. They're mind reading. They have no idea whether you like them or not. Sure. So how do you know I don't like you? Would be your response. And it recovers them giving you more information about what they were blurring and distorting to decide that. They'll tell you, well, here's how your tone of voice sounds, or, it gets them to, instead of being global, to get more specific about how they know that you don't like them, right? Lost performative or value judgments, where they are doing the where the person doing the judging is left out. So it's bad to be inconsistent is the phrase that's on this page. And the response will be, well, who says it's bad? According to whom? How do you know it's bad? Gets them to bring it now down to more specific information. Gathers evidence, recovers the source of the belief. So down this whole page are examples of the kinds of distortions and what people will say and what you'll hear, the kinds of responses that you can have, or the questions you can ask to get a person to be more specific, and bring them down into talking more about what they're not only deleting and distorting and generalizing the information coming out of them, coming into them, coming at them. They're not only deleting and distorting their external events that are happening to them, near them, whatever. They're also deleting and distorting and generalizing in their communication. And the job is to get to know more about what's going on inside their feelings, what they're picking up on the outside, getting to know. So this page is broken into the distortions that you might hear, generalizations you might hear, deletions that you might hear. So for in deletions, there's unspecified verbs. He rejected me. And the question is, how specifically? Gets to specify the verb, right? I am uncomfortable is a simple deletion. About what or whom? and you get to figure out what they're deleting in that. So this is somewhat self-explanatory. What isn't self-explanatory and is kind of cool is that along the left-hand side of this page, you'll see that each distortion, the response that you can give is a how question. With generalizations, what would happen if is your response. So let's see. Universal quantifiers, universal generalizations such as all, every, never, everyone, no one. She never listens to me. You would find a counterexample. Never? Or what would happen if she did? And it recovers counterexamples or effects. And if somebody's like, everyone, blah, 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 everyone? Is the simple question is just repeat the word that they're saying with a question mark. It's kind of fun. Modal operators in there, as in should, shouldn't, must not, have to, need to, that kind of a necessity. I have to care for her. Oh, I have to take care of her. What would happen if you did? What would happen if you didn't? Or I can't, or I won't, or I'm not gonna. What prevents you? What would happen if you did? What would happen if you didn't? What wouldn't happen if you didn't? Recovers causes, right? So you see on the side there that the questions you ask are related. So just sort of you can remember it. That's what's going on in this page. I think it makes, for the most part, it makes sense. The thing to know is what is your intention when you're utilizing these parts of the meta model. Some people have this as wanting to uncover and discover more about what's going on in another person's reality. So that curiosity, having questions to have curiosity, you can also utilize this to recognize how people have framed their beliefs and values. And if you are wanting to help them shift them, or you want to shift their beliefs and values, you need to get an understanding for what they're deleting, distorting, and generalizing as they're expressing their opinions and that sort of thing. And so figuring out how they're motivated and how they're structuring their language gives you more insight on what you could help them come to understand that may have them shift their beliefs. Hopefully that makes some sense. There are videos out there where people like go over each one of these in more depth for the meta model. I could find a link for that, but you just like type in the meta model in YouTube and you might find a bunch of teachers doing like 20-minute versions of what the meta model is. But this is just sort of glance at it. Good times. Stop share.